Hey, it's Gratu Orloff here, episode 469 of the Gratu Orloff Show. It's Thursday, I think it's October 14th, 2021. I know it's October and it's 2021, but the date, I'm 90% sure it's the 14th. So, interesting times we live in. I think we're going to start every episode of the Gratu Orloff Show with a prayer. Start, moving forward, as the socialists like to say. That became a really cool slogan back about, 10, 15 years ago. Going forward, moving forward. Communism. But anyway, so I think we should say a silent prayer to the the culture that we collect: comics, old records, ephemera. These things exist in our collections because somebody saved them. Somebody that's probably not in the world anymore. In some cases, or for whatever reason, they preserved these books, these comics, these bubblegum cards, whatever it is we call movie posters. They preserve them either because they love them, they cherish them. Maybe they were just hoarders, who knows? But they kept them in nice shape. And when many of their contemporaries trashed the stuff and threw it away, so we need to say a silent prayer and thank these people for preserving this culture. And we're temporary custodians of this stuff. We're like museum curators to make sure this stuff is around in the future. And also to the people that created this, the artists and writers of these comics, and the people that produced and wrote and sang, and the band, performed in the bands, the music that we love. A lot of them aren't with us anymore, and a lot of them were, the early comics, and right up through. If you're in, according to YouTube Studio, everyone that's watching in the last week is in their 50s, 55 to 64 age range. So the stuff that we consumed as kids was created by the World War II generation. Our parents, our fathers, or for those of you that might be a little bit younger, your grandparents. My parents were older when they had me, so my dad missed World War II by just like a year or so. He was in the Korean War. These guys and these women were a hell of a generation. They lived through the Depression and World War, and they didn't take shit. And it's interesting that the powers that be waited until they're pretty much out of the picture. If you served in World War II at the minimum age, at the very last month of World War II, you're in your 90s, and there aren't many of the World War II generation left. They never would have tried what they're trying now to do to us when they were still around. So they waited for the couple of generations down after they'd kind of socialized them. But anyway, it's the world we live in. So we need to say a prayer for those people to guide us, and to God to help us get through these times, because we're going through times that many people are unaware that, but we're going to see things, I think, in our lifetime not too different from what the greatest generation, as Tom Brokaw called them, experienced. These supply chain issues are about to get bad, and it's about to get real cold. And anyway, enough of that. I saw an old friend yesterday, and she and her boyfriend have created this new comic book that's coming out formally on October 31st. And I said, well, you can come on my show and promote it. And she was like really thrilled, but then she said, it's not political, is it? And I said, well, no, it's not really a political show. It's about pop culture, but I do sometimes talk about, not really liking what's going on. But I said I won't do that when you guys are on. So I don't know. But I got I got a preview copy of the comic. I'll show it to you here in a little bit. I'd show it now, but things are in such a state of chaos that I can't find it right now. But I did just find these. Like the last 10 episodes, I've been saying I just got these cool records at an estate sale. And then I said, well, where are they? I can't find them. So I just found them. So I'll show these to you before they get lost again. And these are cardboard records from the old days, in the early 50s. And they're really cool pictures on them. Got these at an estate sale. And what you can do, you can just hang them on the wall, just put a thumbtack here, and you got a cool wall decorations. Hey, I've been saying we need to get out of the cities. I mean, that's kind of obvious. But we found a place. I want to bounce this off of you guys. It's in Alabama, okay, like northern part of Alabama. But okay, so it's an old building, kind of looks like something from the Old West, right? I think it's supposed to have been built in 1930. It looks older than that to me. But there's two big, I think, stores right on the bottom floor, with I think that's a total of like 6,000 square feet or something. And then there's stairs going upstairs in a living area that's been fixed up, like a big loft. And that's like 4,000 square feet. So I figure I could put all my pinball machines and arcade machines and cool stuff in one of those stores downstairs and have like a private arcade. And then it wouldn't fully fill it though. So, but I was thinking maybe the other one I could use that to open maybe a store, or to use it also as a place where we could congregate to have comic conventions. Yeah, it's in the downtown area of the place, that little small town. And but the question is, those of you watching, it's not far from Florida. There's a lot of comic book people in Florida, and you go up, and that way is a state where some of us are. I'm just thinking about where the Four Color Fossils are that meet every Wednesday night on the Graphic Man's channel. But the question is, you can comment down below. And if I was to open, let's say I was to open a comic record kind of culture store. If any of you are thinking about bugging out of a big city that's controlled by a lunatic, that's too cold, that's there's gunshots all the time, you want to move somewhere quiet, if any of you would want to, because most of us are kind of like at retirement age or near it, or I took retirement a little early, but I couldn't wait to get out, and it was perfectly timed. It really was a blessing, just to barely, just so that I wouldn't have to deal with all of that pandemic and all that politics. But if one or two of you wanted to go into business, with me, if you were to move you or your family there, there's a college there, and I mean, I'm not going to get into detail where it is, because I don't want someone like buying it out from under us, but I don't know. It would take selling this house, but someone sold their house in like a week across, catty cornered from us. So, anyway, it's just a question. If any of you want to, yeah, but you're here to see records and comics. Let's see. Here's a Dale Evans record. I'm used to the StreamYard. You move everything this way, and on the phone you move everything that way. Okay, it's Dale Evans. Keep in touch. And on the other side, it's Roy Rogers, A Good Night Prayer, Sons of the Pioneers. This is on hard plastic that's supposed to be unbreakable, so kids won't destroy it. Let's see what else I got here. There's another picture disc. The Princess and the Pea. I'm sorry. If it was Joe Biden, it'd be another kind of pea, but I'm not going to get political. The Camel and the Monkey. Camela? I'm sorry. The Monkey and the Camel. I wonder why the camel has a boo-boo. Oh, he's injured. I guess we'll find out when we listen to the record. And the monkey seems to have just eaten at Taco Bell. All right. 3 Blind Mice. And we'll all go singing. How about that? How about that? How about that? Well, you finally saw the records I've been blabbing about the last stuff. Oh, I got some other cool stuff. Then I'll show you some comics because I'm trying to organize, same old story. Here's a children's book. Oh, good, that lighting shows off the... It's called Book Trails to Enchanted Lands. And it's quite beautiful. Lighting needs to be better, does it not? Did I mention it's Thursday? It's a beautiful, rainy, cold day. Well, it's not that cold, but it's going to be getting down cold soon here in Grotuville, from what I understand. Let's get the lighting a little bit. Nothing's professional here in the Grotuville Archive. Okay, so... Oh, yeah, that's good. It's just a cool book. This guy brought a bunch of his grandmother's stuff in, and this is part of it. You don't buy character, you build it. Now, look at this. 20 years from now, no one except his mother will remember what kind of toys he had, what kind of clothes he wore, but everyone will see what kind of person he has become. Of course, in our case, it's 20 years from now, everyone will remember what kind of toys we had because we'll have them everywhere in our house, but that's at least... Let's see what year this was written, how naive they were. Because stories and poems are the ideal vehicles for teaching young children, they must be carefully selected to fit the needs of each age. This is a job for experts. Book Trails for Baby Feet. Yeah, this was a really cool book that was used in schools. By the way, schools today, I would really encourage you to get your kids out of public schools. If there's any possible way to homeschool them or send them to some Christian school or something, that would be highly advisable. And I don't know if it's even worth going to college, to university anymore. I would say that's very questionable. It's just a brainwashing... But anyway, not to get political or anything, but anyway, look at these beautiful drawings, man. They're really cool, man. This book is really cool, man. The hell? I think... This must be a sample to sell this to schools, because there's little notes there, like at the bottom, see that in red? That says, today's parents are charting the course for tomorrow's leaders. And all of these pages, they're like like it seems like this is a sample, like a salesman would come in and show you this book, and because it's like on every page there's some little commentary on the bottom, like this is why we put this story in this book, and um, like this Christmas poem. This poem story will never die, for it is as eternal as Christmas, beloved alike by adults and children. Yeah, that's what this is. This is absolutely a sampler book for parents or teachers to. Yeah, they're giving you the rationale at the bottom for all the stories and poems that they chose. Um, just beautiful illustrations. Um, so, the guy brought in the whole stack of stuff and sold it to the owner of the comic store for like $60, and then I pulled out some stuff, I think the best stuff out of the pile after the guy sold it, and said, here, I'll um, work some extra hours for free for that. And so I didn't pay for, I technically will pay in hard slavery soon, but anyway, these were just things I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. Like, I guess this is a theater program for the Shirley Temple film Heidi. Because, like, a couple episodes back, I showed you my Star Wars program from 1977. I got at the Six Flags Mall Theater and at the concession stand when I went to see it. That looks like this is a storybook. Tells the story of the movie with pictures and everything. And it's in good shape. And it's from whatever year that Heidi came out. Probably 30 something. So that's pretty cool. How about that? How about that one? Here's another one. Shirley Temple and Dimples. There were other Shirley Temple books. This lady, he said it was his great grandmother. I think her name was Betty. She wrote her name on a lot of the books. She was really into Shirley Temple. My mother was really into Shirley Temple. My mother was born in 1927, so she was about the same age, maybe a little older than Shirley Temple, so she adored her. Oh boy, that's not very politically correct. Like the governor of Virginia. But it was a different time. This one has like cut out just in the middle is like a little cut out of a magazine or a paper doll. It's cut out from some other source. It's not. There's no damage to this book. It had been used as a bookmark in here. How about that? Okay, so I also got an issue of Playboy, still sealed, with Marge Simpson on the cover, and that thing apparently goes for $70, $80, $100 on eBay. So apparently that was the most expensive thing of what I got, but to me it was the least of them. Look at this. I know it's been chewed on here, but look at this freaking thing, man. It's A Merry Christmas from Sears Toyland. Excuse me. So it's got all the comic strip characters, so you could make a great poster with this and put it up at Christmas. I just need to get get this copied. If I get it copied, and I could maybe send it to all you guys. The 4-color fossils up there or whatever. I need to repay people. I've been getting all these AOK packages, and I've only sent a couple out. Yeah, they weren't really AOK packages because Graphic Man sent me some money to buy him stuff, and that's not an AOK package. Although I did throw a few freebies in there. It was like what he sent me, and now Meyer Greenblatt's got a package on the way. I feel like a deadbeat, man. I need to start returning the favors. It's It's not cool. Anyway, you open this up and it's got all these. Oh, and Jambo Comics. I will get those DVDs made of the 60s Marvel superhero cartoons and get them out to you. I just now got a new spindle of blank DVD-Rs, and I just hardly have time to do anything. You know, like I hardly was able to find Ghost Comics for. And then I found there was a pile. I had pulled Ghost Comics in this room, but then last night I scrambled to get on Graphic Man's show, and I forgot there were Ghost Comics in here. So, yeah, it's got damage to the bottom, which is a shame. But it's got these obscure comic strips like Winnie Winkle and Tiny Tim, Moon Mullins. That's a more famous one. Here are comics that you're supposed to color. If it wasn't for those pesky mice, man, eating on this thing, this would be in just real cherry condition. There's a Dick Tracy comic strip. None of the art really got disturbed by this. Oh, there's a cool centerfold. With comic strip characters celebrating Christmas. Gasoline Alley. Harold the Teen. Imagine if stores still did this, you know. There's Little Orphan Annie. Like, you went into Sears. Well, I don't know if Sears still exists anymore, or Target, or whatever shitty stores we go to. If they'd give stuff like this out to kids at Christmas time, wouldn't that be cool? Anyway, so somebody saved this, man. I guess this guy's great grandmother saved this, and so now it's in my collection instead of being tossed out in a dumpster somewhere. So through the act of, you know, so through Providence, this is somehow wound up in my collection, and you know, I'm sure you know, somehow it will hopefully be preserved in someone else's collection when I'm gone from this world of woes. Here we go. Here's this is pretty damn cool. Seven Dwarves. Pretty cool. It's amazing. What am I fucking talking about? I'm underplaying how cool this is. It's authorized story of the Walt Disney characters, and it's from 30. What the? It's 36, or is it? I thought this was 30. I can't fucking see. It's from when the movie came out. But you know, it's pretty darn cool. PDC, pretty darn cool. Oh, look, so there's like a little pinup inside of it. Let's see. I didn't notice that. It's writing on the back. Walt Disney's Snow White is the screen thrill of the majestic, and the fashion thrill for girls and sub-debs in the Easter parade will be new dresses of snow white linens, snow white dotted Swisses, snow white embossed organdies. Many with boleros, real lace trims, and refreshing touches of color, everyone distinctly Dreyfus and chic and beauty. Girls and sub-debs shop, third floor, Dreyfus and Son. Okay, so this is they're talking about the Majestic Theater, which is where this is playing, in a store called Dreyfus, spelled like Richard Dreyfuss. So, where the Majestic, it seems like every city had a theater called the Majestic. I know there was one in Dallas. I'm not sure if there was one in San Antonio. The guy that brought this in to sell it was not from around here. He was someone that chases hail damage. And this is a good place to be because it hails a lot here. So he was just someone that goes from place to place, and he had all this in a little suitcase, and he was saying, I want to get rid of it because it's just getting more and more damaged in my collection. And he just wanted seemed happy with the $60, which so that seemed like a oh, and then this here's the piece of ass de resistance. The piece of ass de resistance. It's Porky Pig's Duck Hunt. Yeah, I think this came out when Porky Pig was still the animated features that played in movie theaters were still black and white at that point. I'm pretty sure. PDS, pretty darn sure. Yeah, yes indeed, sure enough. I gotta start practicing an Alabama accent. I don't know if I have an accent. Maybe I've been in Texas long enough to not have an accent, but during my formative years, we moved around from place to place because my dad was in the Army, so I don't know if I ever developed a thick regional accent, but I'll have, I don't know, man. We're not sure of this. I just wanted to sound it off on you guys. Oh, here's a copy of Alf. I don't think I ever really watched Alf, but my wife loved Alf as a little girl. She's a little bit younger than me. She's 13 years younger than me. So when I find these Alf comics, I buy these Alf comics, man, for her. But I wish I could find the one where Alf is fucking a seal on the front cover, which, you know, it's not like, oh, the 1990s, they were just naive back then. They didn't realize that this seal on top of his lap with an alarmed expression, they just did never realize that it looked like he was boning this seal up the butt. Flip through, it's pretty notorious cover. I never find that issue of Alf. But you don't find issues of Alf anywhere. I don't think so. Where do you see Alf in the wild? Not that I dislike the show, it's just in the 90s I was pretty busy. Usually had friends then. I mean, friends, I have friends now, but mostly they're out there in the internet world. I have a few here locally, but I never see them. So back then I were friends here locally that I spent a lot of time with and all that. Oh, here's more. Here's a Walt Disney Cinderella book, but it's kind of off model. It doesn't really look like the way. So I think maybe this came out before the movie. The illustrations just look a little different. Not that that's bad. It's cool. But this is another cool thing from that particular purchase. So, Cinderella. Oh, let's look at her as the fully formed Cinderella there. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Oh, here's some. I didn't get this. I got from that same estate sale where I got those records. It's Tootle. Now, those of you that have watched the Groucho Orloff show for a long time know I love trains, and it's one of my early loves because my older brother was so into trains. You know, my older brother Steve, and he had a HO scale, but then he really got into N scale, which are little tiny trains. I think they're well, HO scale trains I think are kind of in scale with like Hot Wheels cars. Am I wrong about that? And I think but in scale you can create a much bigger world because the train cars are smaller, as opposed to HO is more like that, and in scale is more like that. There's all these different scales, but my brother was always buying Model Railroader magazine. I loved looking at that, man. It was like, to me, when I was 4, I was like looking at Playboy or something. It was just so cool that people are creating these whole worlds on, you know, it's kind of like the next thing to being God. You create these towns and the mountains and rivers and bridges over the rivers and stuff. It just, PDC, pretty darn cool. Okay, so there's some of these wonderful items, and I will. And let's say a prayer for this. I don't see anything here that says Betty on it, but a lot of the other stuff that I didn't get had her name on it. So this woman, that this is some of her precious, most precious, beloved stuff from her childhood, and it's come into my hands, and I will honor it. And it's like that's one of the things when I get a comic book or something, and it's got someone's name written on it, and sometimes it's got they filled out the coupon for some toy or something in the comic book, and they're so hopeful they're filling it out with the dream that maybe my parent would give me $1 so I can get this, or or $5 to get a giant submarine I can actually get inside of in my backyard. And they fill it out. They never cut it out because they realize, but it's just a hope. Maybe if I fill this out, I can cut it out and I can actually get this toy. And then they put their name there, and then you can. What I'll do, it may sound insane, but I'll look that up now that we have computers and phones. You can just look that up and see. Okay, that's the house that this book used to be in, where it was beloved by. I almost look at these things like they are living entities. Like I've taken in an orphan dog. Maybe its master has passed away, and I adopt this dog or this. And if you're a toy collector or comic collector, if the Toy Story, especially the first. Well, the one that got me, and I tear up just thinking about it, is Toy Story 2, when that little cowgirl doll sings this song about how about the days when she was loved by this little girl, and then she was just kind of thrown under a bed, and then, because it's a metaphor for abandonment, and everything, but it just really gets me. It's kind of like you think of it's kind of like Pets, and I can't, that song, I just thinking about it, I can't. When she's under this bed, and it's like for years, and the girl is outgrown playing with this doll, and then all of a sudden she sees the hand of this girl reach in to get her, and she throws her out, in the street. Oh, that gets me, man. It gets me. I'm telling you, man. You watch that fucking movie, you don't cry during that song. I don't know why you're watching this channel. I can't take it, man. There's not many movies do that to me. The 1939 Wuthering Heights did it to me, where it's like I'm crying like my throat, my esophagus is gonna explode. I saw that movie in the theater with my nephew, who was really young at the time, and it's like they're all just watching it. But me being a toy collector, me being an animal pet lover, because the toys are kind of like pets in that universe. And it's like I was trying to keep from crying so that they wouldn't see, my brother's here, and his kids, and it's like I felt like I was gonna explode, like trying to keep that in, like my whole throat was gonna explode like the guy's head in Scanners. That movie got me, man. So yeah, man, it's. I don't know if you don't have those emotions. You're different from me, man. Okay, so all right, what now? I gotta get some stuff organized. What else was I was gonna show you that comic my friend made. Where is that? Oh, look, an issue of Bullwinkle and Rocky from Marvel, where they're Bullwinkle's racing Ronald Reagan. It says, and what are you the president of? Yeah. There's a Captain America comic here where Ronald Reagan has like a snake tongue and is coming after him. I just saw that here somewhere. You can tell someone at Marvel didn't like Ronald Reagan very much, but you know. Where was that? No, it's not. Oh, here's an issue of Daredevil 35. I need to get this in the other room where the Silver Age comics are. Okay, and I need to move. No. Yes. No, this needs to go in the other room. I need to get things together. It needs to be moved into the. Okay, here's the stuff I pulled for Graphic Man's Ghost episode last night, and this is Tales Too Terrible to Tell. I guess those aren't ghosts, those are zombies, so maybe that's just as well. I didn't show this one. This is reprints of 50s horror. This thing came out, I think, in the 90s. And, yeah, 93. Yeah, so it was Tales Too Terrible to Tell. Here's issue 9. It's reprinting Basil Wolverton there. Shit, this one has a whole lot of text. This only has one comic story, and it has all this text about, oh, it's telling you the history of these comic companies, but this one is almost all, it's more like a magazine. Well, then there's another comic story at the back, but there's tons of information. Someone's done a lot of research on this one. In this one. Here's a famous cover from a Charlton comic. Seems like I remember seeing a Charlton 66 video where he was really pleased that he got this original comic. It's a very famous one. But yeah, it's black and white reprints. Yeah, there's that famous bullet hole to the forehead cover. Here's Speaker of the House. Yes, indeed. Horror stories from the 50s. Tales Too Terrible to Tell. That's issue number 4. These are not in the correct order. Here's issue number 7. This is from New England Comics Press. See, you know, but I don't know if these are probably pretty inexpensive. I don't have any clue. I would buy them when I found them back in the 90s because I wasn't that enchanted with what Marvel and DC were doing in the 90s. So I'd buy these independent comics. So I was still always going into comic stores, even during the periods when comics started to get less fun for me. But I was still buying this stuff because I've always been interested in the art form. It's just, I liked this time period. And then I liked the time period that where I was first discovering comics, which would have been, is there anything here from that time period? Let me see. Thought I saw something. Oh, yeah. This is also this time period. This is like when I was coming along. Like second grade, first and second grade, when stuff like this was coming out. I especially like this early 20th century era, Bronze Age, where they have like a picture frame cover. In other words, the art doesn't extend under the title. It's in a little box. That's kind of you don't see that much where boobs are falling upward, like a girl's upside down, their boobs are going upwards. Not that I noticed that. Here's Champions #1. Which is Hercules, Black Widow, Angel, Ghost Rider, and Iceman. So it's 2 of the original X-Men. Yeah, that was an interesting group. What else do we have? Wait, why did I put the Silver Age back? Okay. Alright. And this needs to go in the other room. This copy of Fantastic Four 78. I have that already, but when I see something like that that's inexpensive enough, I've got to. And here's this might. I'm not sure if this is an upgrade. I'll find out in a few minutes whether those are upgrades or not. Oh, dang! I feel like I got some mosquito bite. That's why I keep something's biting me. This is a cool comic. It's got a little appearance by Thanos at the end of the story. I don't. Maybe I remember this comic. I don't know. Bill Ray, Big Blown Baby. Do you remember this comic? I just found this yesterday too. This definitely needs to go in the other room too. I'm going to put this kind of with the underground stuff, even though it's not. I don't know. And these tales too terrible to tell. Need to go in the other room. Let me see what I can dig up here that needs to go in the other room. Then I'll go in the other room and start filing it. You guys can come along with me. Hear a helicopter outside. They're coming to get me. They heard what I said about Nancy Pelosi being a horrible person. You hear that? It's flying right over. The Men in Black. All right, here's some more. Here's some more stuff that definitely needs to go in the other room. Digging out more of my Atlas comics, Atlas Seaboard. Here's Tales of Evil featuring the Bog Beast. So this is their version of the Man Thing or the Swamp Thing or the Heap. Their entry into the swamp creature was called the Bog Beast. The Bog Beast. All right. It goes there. Oh, you ever see this DC comic? It's about people working in a comic book or comic strip sweatshop. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read this. Are they doing comic books or comic strips? Yeah, they're doing comic strips. It's Peter Bagg and okay, what else was there? Okay, this copy of Star Reach I'll put with my underground comics and World of Wood. Okay. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this is a great cover. You know, like yesterday there was an issue of the Immortal Hulk or the Indubitable Hulk, or I think it's the Immortal Hulk. It's like issue 50. It's so exciting that it's issue 50 and then they're going to restart with issue 1. And I don't think it sold a single, maybe one copy. But it had one of the variant covers was It's supposed to be a retro cover with a thing fighting the Hulk, but I think it. I looked at the inside, and I don't know. It didn't. It wasn't a self-contained story. I wouldn't have been able to. I didn't buy it, but anyway, to me, this is the thing fighting the Hulk. That's what I want it to look like. This is cool. Marvel Team Up usually had Spider-Man. There are only a few issues that don't have Spider-Man. This one is kind of creative. The Human Torch and the Iceman, that's more obvious. And they're both teenagers too, so it makes. Yeah, here's the Man Thing. That's kind of a neat cover. I'd never seen this cover before somehow. Oh, I need to put this with my Christmas comics. Christmas is coming right around the corner. Put that over here. Oh, I had this. I could have shown it last night, but someone was showing. I think Jabbo was showing Ghost Comics. I have to go back and watch the show because I was preoccupied during the first hour and a half. And other stuff I need to put in the other room. Here's a copy of Hate number 27, which needs to go in the other room. Yeah, these things are put in the other room. Oh, here's Radioactive Man number 1. See, we ought to experiment with this. If you look closely, it's a glow-in-the-dark cover. And see, he's got, if you turn off the lights, he should glow like a skeleton. So let's experiment, because it's kind of dark outside because it's a rainy day. So if maybe if I hold this up to the light and then I turn off the lights, we can see what we can. So I'm holding it up to the light. All right. I don't know if that's enough or not. Okay. Hold on. All right. Will it glow? Man, I don't know about this. There's still too much light in here. I'll try this again. Maybe I need to take it out of the plastic bag. Maybe that's keeping the light from. Wonder how many other people have done this on YouTube. This is quite remarkable content. Oh, look at that. I should have 2001: A Space Odyssey music playing. Okay. Stay. Oh, look, it does work. Did you see that? But it's going out pretty quick. Damn, that was cool. Sure enough. Ooh. Okay. So, comedy shows get show you. There's some other 3D covers that came out in the 90s. It was kind of a gimmick that went around for a while. I think there were a few Batman covers. Okay. So, this morning we had Mexican food for breakfast. It was really good. It was a really good place that we went there just a few years ago. It must have been about 2 or 3, maybe 2 years into Trump's presidency, and there was still a newspaper machine outside the door to the restaurant. And I remember going out, and because you don't see newspaper machines anymore. Usually, if you see them, there's just a sign inside: paper sold inside. But this had newspapers in it that were old, and it was from when Trump won the presidency. It was when he was elected. Uh, and it was a 2-year-old newspaper. It's just like when Trump became president, they just stopped changing the newspapers there. Oh, here's a bunch of EC Comics reprints. These need to go in the other room. Little Monsters. Yeah, this is a stack that I had prepared to take in the other room. This was done by a guy I met at a convention back in the 1990s, and we struck up a friendship because it was like we grew up in the same house. I mean, he has all the same interests as I did, and he was making comics back then and movies out of Memphis. And through me, my friend Joe Riley, that I did the Hypnotic Eye with, he went out to Memphis and worked as the special effects guy on this movie. So this is the comic book adaptation of the movie, but look, he even has an ad for a Dan Silvis model kit on the back. Or no, it wasn't this movie. He worked on, I think, the movie called Teenage Tupelo. He would make these movies with where he'd get these. They kind of be like his. He'd make these southern exploitation comic book kind of movies, you know. Just like, look at this girl's jacket. You see the patches she has are the ones that you remember seeing advertised in all those 70s comic books, right? Like, help, I need lovin', and all that. Oh, there's nudity in here. I can't show this to you. This is actually not a comic book. He did great comic art. Let's see if there's any of his art in here. This is more like a program to the movie. See, you know, it's got this guy playing guitar. It's like Two-Face. I mean, it was. See if there's stuff I can show you. Yeah. This is like a program for the movie. Anyway, a few years ago he was wanting to, because I would cover his movies in my magazine that I put out back then called The Sophisticate, and he was wanting like reprints of The Sophisticate. Last time I talked with him for something he was doing, some project he was doing, maybe maybe extras for a DVD or something, and somehow I just never was able to produce that for him. I was just, but boy, this really has a great smell of an old comic. But it's John Michael McCarthy did these comics. He even copied. He just flat out says it's an Aurora model kit. He doesn't even change. Yeah, he had a movie company called Big Broad Films, and it used the gorilla head that was always in those mask ads in old comics. Anyway, that's this is, yeah, so that's gotta rotate that or something. What else is here? Okay. All right. Move this over here. Let's see. What do we have here? Okay. That goes there. See if there's anything else cool in here. I've been trying to build up my Swamp Thing collection, and oh, this is a cool issue of The Brave and the Bold, issue 109, Batman and the Demon. What else is in here? Look at this. I don't think it's technically manga. It's from I think it could be Chinese or Vietnamese. I think it's Chinese. But I saw this, and you know, it's like we guys basically kind of got a Spider-Man costume, which is not normally something. Let's see. It probably tells here in the comic. Tony Wong proudly presents Jade Man Kung Fu Comics. Yeah, this is a company called Jade Man, and but it has really cool color. It's very gorgeous the way they print the color in these, and it doesn't. It almost looks like manga, but not quite. So yeah, it's a similar culture, but not. But anyway, let's find some pictures of him where he's wearing his Spider-Man outfit. The hell was that? It's like, what is this force coming from the horse's butt? An explosion of power. Oh, he touches the horse's butt and then somehow it explodes. Well, how about that? I just thought this was unique enough that, oh, there he is riding his horse wearing his, you know, culturally appropriated outfit. But probably figured that this looks like somebody's getting buried alive here. Gee. These aren't worth very much, you know, if that's what you're concerned with in life, is how much books are worth. But so but I don't see them very often either, so they're not expensive, but it's like finding them is in the wild. I don't know. I'm running across a bunch of them lately, but it's not anything I'd ever even heard of. But you know, it's not something that would have attracted my attention. It's kind of, but when I see the, you know, that Spider-Man connection, it's interesting. Oh, here's the tail end of the run of Weird War, the DC comic. They had the Creature Commandos, and it was the superheroes teaming up. Boy, they make Hitler look awfully young there. They sure did de-age Hitler. How old was Hitler during the war, man? You know, you often wonder, these historical figures that always seemed old, and then you get old and you realize, how old was he when he died? It was like, am I the same age as that guy? It's like you watch Leave It to Beaver and Ward and June always seem very old, and then you get older and you say, "Well, June wasn't that bad looking." You realize, oh, you're probably, I guess I'm older than her now. And Ward always seemed old. He seemed like he was like my age when Leave It to Beaver was filmed. And yeah, and Father Knows Best. How old was Robert Young during the, yeah, Jane Wyatt and all that. Here's another copy of Weird War. Anyway, yeah, I think that I gotta put all my Weird Wars in a separate short box. I'm starting to come around to what you guys say is that we should all use short boxes, because moving these long boxes around is miserable. And, what is this? It's the spectacular 100th issue of The Brave and the Bold, which I'll put in the other room, because I consider, in my world, the Silver Age still continued until DC went back down from 25 cents to 20 cents. So, comics were 15 cents. Marvel moved up to 20 cents. DC didn't jump 5 cents. They jumped 10 cents and said, well, we'll give you extra content, and you're going to pay an extra dime. And then it didn't work, and then they went back to 20 cents. And DC tried the same thing not even 10 years later, when comics were jumping up from 60 cents to 75, I think. And instead, DC jumped up to $1 and tried that out, given like 100 pages. And it was cool, but kids didn't respond. And I talk about the same shit every episode. This must get tedious. I'm like your Uncle Gratu. I'm going to tell you the same stories every episode. And then I could tell you about, why they call him Morbius the living vampire. And what else can I tell you? How about I tell you the story about when my friend saved Keanu Reeves' life? I bet you I haven't told you that one yet. I was about to tell that story in the last episode. The last episode, I was my computer died. It wasn't. I thought it was plugged in, and it wasn't. So I had to plug it back in. And the StreamYard show, I had a lot of people. To me, a lot of people watching, and there were like 17, maybe 20 people watching, and then the power died, and I disappeared, and so people were just seeing a background. And then I turned the computer back on quickly, but then it had to do an update. And it was so slow, it must have taken 10, 15 minutes for the computer to update itself with whatever new government spyware they're putting on there. And by then, the StreamYard show had just timed out, and everybody had gone on to whatever. But I needed to leave anyway, because I wanted to watch the Donald Trump rally. That was last Saturday. So I haven't done a show in almost a week. And I'm paying for StreamYard, but I'm not using it that much because, I don't know, the Wi-Fi seems to really stink, and the shows just don't look very good on StreamYard. But I can talk to people, and that's the cool thing. I may do another one later today, if any of you would like. But it's more fun when people like come on with you as a guest, and sometimes people have other things going on. I'm trying to put all my Micronauts comics together over here. I might have a complete run now. That's what I'm hoping. And I'm filling in holes in my Jonah Hex collection. There's even this other run of Jonah Hex where they started the numbering over. And I'm even trying this Jonah Hex where they I never read this run. I just read the original run, and so I'm going to try these two. Although it's not written by Michael Fleischer, but I'm gonna give it a shit or give it a shot. Is Michael Fleischer still around? Is he? See, we're talking about comic creators that they were the young people in the '70s when we were reading comics. The young, hip creators, the ones that came along. That were the youngsters compared to the original guys that were like the World War II generation, and those young guys are getting up there. Like I think Roy Thomas, who was like the boy, the boy that Stan Lee hired. He's like, I think he's actually older than what's his face, President Biden. So but I think Biden actually looks even older and weirder because they've done brain surgery on him. And I'm not joking. It's not hyperbole. There was something wrong, and they did and maybe they pulled his face off and then put it back on when they were doing the surgery. I'm not even joking, but I'm not joking. It's not hyperbole. I think something like that happened because it's like he looks very different than he used to. How about that? Okay, let's see. Well, as Jack Benny would do when he do something. Okay. What else we got here? Oh boy. I think Eric Brain last night was telling us that OMAC is now a girl or he's transgender or something. I don't know. But here's DC Comics Presents. This was kind of the Brave and the Bold always had Batman teamed up with someone, at least from the late 60s on. And DC Comics Presents came along around 1977. Always had Superman teamed up with somebody. All right. Let's see about the other room. It's getting a little chilly in the house. I don't know. I may have to tell my wife that we don't need the air conditioner quite as much because we're about to get this, I think, a Canadian cold front coming in. What the hell is this and why did I ever buy it? Cyber Crush. This is something I bought back then. Oh, well, it's pretty cool, actually, when you look at the inside, because it's reprints of 2000 AD. Yeah, like the comic where Judge Dredd came from. So this is the really cool British. It's just the cover looks. Yeah, I didn't catch that from the cover what it was. So that is why I bought it. They're trying to sell it to American audiences with these naughty little covers. Yeah, it's good stuff. So I'm not an absolute moronic fool, idiot, asshole buying this shit. Cyber Crush. Robots in Revolt. See? Kind of cool stuff. Didn't even know I owned this. Here's another one. Look at that. I was buying this and I don't even remember it. Yeah, see, there's a Judge. Shit. What is that? Judge Dredd episode where looks like the mentor is there. Now, this comic may be hard to justify why I own it. Cyblade. That's one of those guys from the 90s that everything looked alike. inside, it's all 90s out. In some ways, the 90s seem like a million years ago, and in some ways, they seem like yesterday. When I think about the music that came out in the 90s, and it doesn't seem like that long ago. And some of the things I was doing in the 90s seem like a million years ago. And some, I don't know. I can't even keep track of what decade it is, but I'd sure rather be living in the 1990s than at the dawn of the Great Reset. But I don't know. Klaus Schwab seems like a nice guy, right? I don't mind losing all our freedom if some nice guy like Klaus Schwab is behind it. He needs to get, though, a white cat to pet all the time, and then it'll just be even cooler, right? They're trying to bring Kazar back, or Kazar, Marvel's Tarzan, and apparently the comic is not selling at all. Every few years they try to bring him back, and I like the character, but someone's not getting the message that I guess Jungle Guys don't sell anymore. Oh, I've been meaning to show you this other stuff for several episodes. Hold on, let's pause and go into the other room. Let me show you this. I was at a Half Price Books, and they, which I shouldn't have gone into because that's always a bad idea to go into that store. They don't have them all over the country. It's regional. It started in Dallas. It's a really cool store. It's very similar to, some of you have a store that's similar to it, that's almost identical, called Charles in Charge, or Secondhand Charles, or Second and Charles, or something. But Half Price Books, when I go in there, you never know what's going to pop up. And then they have a section called Nostalgia, where they put the older stuff. But anyway, so I went in there, and they had all these old Mads for like $4 each. So here's number 65 from September of '61, and it's $4. And you know, none of these are in perfect shape, but so I had to get them. Number 54. I did rebag them. I just don't have any magazine boards right now. That's 64. Here's 57 from September of 1960. Here's The Worst of Mad, number 12. Wonder if the postcards are in there. I mean, they can't be. If you're buying it for $4, it can't. Boy, they really seal this, don't they? Let's take a look and see if because I haven't opened these yet. I got them, and they promptly got lost in the hoard, and I've been meaning to. Oh, I still haven't shown that comic for my friends. That might be downstairs. I'll get it here in a second. Oh, this feels like it's in great. This is in great condition. Yeah, the extras are in here, man. People at Half Price Books are not. Let's see. I got some more specials. This is supposed to have 16 Mad car window stickers. This being the 11th annual edition of The Worst for Mad. So let's see if they're in here. Usually when you find these, someone has removed the extra stuff. God, God, those were wonderful days. Every time I'd go into a grocery store, a drugstore, any store my mom would drive me to, the first place I'd go was the magazine rack. And I'd look to see if there's a new issue of Mad. What a wonderful time when you look to see a new Mad cracked. Then a lot of those stores wouldn't have comic books. The grocery stores wouldn't. But if there was a comic rack, there was that, and then some of the cooler stores, usually wouldn't be grocery stores, would have the Warren magazines. Those magazines were being produced then. Oh, I finally got some new Vampirist Carmilla magazines. Dr. Silverage sent me the first 3 because my local store wasn't carrying it, but I finally got the local store to carry it, and so now I think I got a duplicate of 3 and 4 and 5, and I think the 6th issue is about to come out, and I think he's ordered Shudder, which is the new version of the Creeps, which is the attempt to copy Creepy, and Vampirist Carmilla is supposed to look like the old Vampirella. First bad sign is when you see some kid crease the fold-in. I would always just kind of curl the page so I could get an idea visually of how the fold-in worked or looked, but I would never crease the page. But other than that, this is a very solid, slick feeling book, and it's still got, look, this, whoever they bought these from still has all the extras, man. I guess this folds. How does this work? I don't want to fuck it up. Ugh. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, I see what's happening. It's kind of stuck to that. Well, making... You. Why you? You are so beautiful. It's kind of stuck to the page. I'm not going to further fuck it up. Okay. So, the next question is, does this one have the Mad Mischief stickers? This one being the 6th annual edition of Mad Follies. Let's see. Yeah, they have a little sticker, and it says 8/21, so this was put out on the rack in August of 2021, and then sold to me in September. So it was out for a month and no one bought it. Yeah, let's see. Does it have the... it doesn't look like it's got the supplement. Yeah, it would have been right about there. Oh, I always love that. Hold on. I've got to show you this. This first time I saw this, it was one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life. This Dennis the Menace. It says, "Look what I found in Mr. Wilson's head." I mean, that's one of the funniest things. I laughed so hard when I first saw that. Some a-hole tried to put the sticker directly on the book at some fucking point. Mad Follies. It does. This must be the first one because it's showing the follies, right? And it does not say a number. So at that point, they might not have known that it was going to continue on past the first. So this should have Mad paperback book covers. And they are not here. Yes, they are too here. Oh, wow. cool. Oh, back then, usually they had the extras at the center of the book. But as you go back to Mad Follies #1, which I think is probably Kennedy era, they're the first thing when you open the book. So you got, and what you're supposed to do is take these out and glue them on the actual real book. So Lady Chatterley's chopped liver and other recipes. And this is the reason why I'm hiding a trashy paperback novel behind this classy cover is because if I was ever found reading it, I'd catch 22 clops in the head from my old man, or worse even. Let's see. You bet your life Henry Miller never looked up The Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer was famous for being kind of an X-rated book. It, oh, wow. Yeah, I've never seen these. Let me unfold them. Oh my gosh. So, there's King Lear, Lolita. I am terribly embarrassed by all the naked girls and the dead bodies on the covers of mystery books like this one. Yeah. And they got the little Mad logo on there. Yeah. Yeah. This has got to be worth more than $4 with the extras in it. But I'm not going to complain. I love Mad Magazine, as do all rational thinking humans. You know this would offend someone like AOC, you know. This was... I can't believe the times we live in. You have to tiptoe around everything. I'm starting to get hungry. My wife was wondering earlier if I was hungry, and I'm starting to get hungry. Hungry for those good things, baby. Hungry through and through. Hungry for the sweet life. Sweet life, baby, with a real... Well, it was a real fine thing. Real fine thing like you. I can almost taste it, right? It's sweet as wine. How about that? Like these fake ads, man. Okay, so this is supposed to have 12 mad nasty cards. Feels like it might have them in here. It feels a little stiff. It's kind of like, you know, those Mark Jewelers inserts. You can always kind of feel like a comic when it's going to have that in it because it feels like someone put a backing board like inside the comic. And they're here. They are indeed here. So you have cards that you can send to a bully, to a drunkard, to a gold digger, to someone that's boring. Different artists do them. Like they got Jack Davis one down at the bottom, and Don Martin. All the different mad artists have done these cards. Who's the artist on? Who's the artist on that one? It looks very different, very much of a different era. Yeah, man, they're all in here. Incredible. But there's more. And this got me in a little bit of trouble because I spent about $50 at the half-price books. I just thought, when am I ever going to find all these mads for $4 each? And I had to get them. Ooh, that one's got a nasty, I didn't notice that. Nasty little something or other there, right next to Alfred E. Newman's eye. See that, like right there? Something nasty happened to that. But, you know, these aren't in perfect condition, but they were read by idiots, right? Ooh, this has the Mad Zeppelin. Someone's taken out parts, and it's not all there. I wonder, it would be cool to actually have a Mad Zeppelin. Oh, I guess you have to provide your own balloon, and then this hangs under the balloon. But I've never seen one in real life. I ought to look on YouTube or Google. Um, Google it. My wife's mom is from Honduras, and sometimes she'll say things in kind of an unusual way, and she'll say, "I'll Google it down." It's like download and Google combined into "I'll Google it down." So I always like that, saying it that way. But if I said it, then you would not understand the inside joke of why I'm saying it, and therefore it may not be quite as funny. All right. I already have this, but do I have it with the record in it? No. So there's a chance the record could be in here. Let's take a gander. This is a classic cover, which another thing that would look good framed in your record room, in your man cave, woman cave, whatever. Will the record be in here? Very doubtful. And it does not appear to be in here. If it was in here, it would look like that. Except no, it's actually white. My friend has one framed on his wall. Because this is the one that has "It's a Gas" in it, right? You know, with the belching sound effects. So yeah, someone definitely played it. Here's Angry magazine. Done like those men's adventure magazines. Damn, man. You know, Mad was never as good as it was with Harvey Kurtzman, but it was always wonderful. I mean, it just it didn't reach those high standards of the early '50s, but oh, and here's all the monsters, man. Look at that. This is damn beautiful. Oh my God, this is beautiful. And it's got like a vampire character. Um, it's it's a musical with the movie monsters, because you know the Shock Theater was a syndicated package. It came out in '57 with all the with a lot of the Universal horror movies, and it was syndicated to local TV stations, and a lot of TV stations started running the movies and hired a local person to be a horror host, and you know, like Elvira was in the '80s, and so instead of Annie get your gun, it's Manny get your ghoul. Get your ghoul. Look at all the monsters around the logo there. There's even one that's kind of like Batman down at the bottom, right underneath the H. And then they got Humphrey Bogart in there. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is all part of. This is what set off the. That's what set off the monster mania that lasted through the late '50s, you know, and into the '60s with the Monster Mash, and of course, Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. And you know, Frankenstein was up there with the Beatles, right before the Beatles came. I mean, as far as a teen idol, Frankenstein's monster. I mean, and here's Mad number 69 from March of '62, when this comic was on the stands. Comic magazine was on the stands. John F. Kennedy was president. You know, you collect these old comics and records. You understand what Trump was saying when it's like, make America great again. You understand he's not talking about bringing back segregation. That's what's happening now. That segregation is coming in now, like completely endorsed by the Democrat Party. No, that's not what he was talking about. He's talking about making it where this is on the newsstand again. Reaction. I mean, Trump wasn't a racist. Oh well. Okay, cool. So this has this great. You can just turn it around backwards, and on the newsstand, it looks like a copy of the Saturday Evening Post. It says, "Mad salutes all them dizzy layouts and bold editorial ideas that are supposed to make reading a new adventure in the allegedly revamped, but actually the same old tired, the Saturday Evening Post." So apparently the Saturday Evening Post had changed their format, and they're making fun of that. And then it says, Benjamin Franklin, "I cannot but wish that our American printers would in their editions avoid these fancied improvements and thereby render their works more agreeable." So there's an issue of McCall's. It's like they're cutting and pasting from it. So Mad, speaking of Kennedy, when he was running against Nixon in like 1960, Mad printed a cover that said, "Congratulations, Mr. Kennedy, we were with you all the way." And it was Alfred E. Newman with a little flag. And then if you flipped it on the back, or if you flipped it over like this, it's the same issue. And it's still Alfred E. Newman with a flag. It says, "Congratulations, Richard Nixon, we were with you all the way." And then there was a little note to the retailer. And it came out, the issue came out like on election day or the day out, just by chance. And they knew it was coming out on that day. So they had a little note to the retailer: "Whoever wins, display the magazine that way," so that Mad would scoop all the other magazines congratulating the winner. Of course, that happened in reality when, what was it, Newsweek or Time printed, I don't know how many copies, congratulating Hillary Clinton as winning, and then Trump won, and then I don't know what they did with all those. Maybe they're selling them on eBay, or maybe they were shredded. Yeah, well, this is going to provide lots of fun when they turn off the internet and the what else are they probably going to turn off? Well, all the electricity. You know, as soon as it gets cold, I'll have magazines to read, because you don't need electricity to read an old Mad magazine. Well, maybe to see it, but providing you've got light, and there'll be lots of light if you open the window, reflecting from all the white snow outside, because they're going to turn off the power when there's lots of snow outside. Trust me. Yeah, we've got all this entertainment that requires no electricity. And they're already talking about doing rolling blackouts again this winter. And I imagine they're going to try to punish Texas because of Governor Abbott going against the president. And so they're going to be out there seeding clouds and turning off the windmills freeze up. No, we were completely energy independent. And now we're like begging for oil again. Oh, well, I like spending $40 filling up my damn car. It's fun. It's so progressive. I have to be punished for not having an electric car, but then how are you going to power the electric car? Doesn't that require energy too? It's freaking morons. But this isn't a political show. Oh, speaking of that, I need to get that comic from downstairs that my friend made. Yeah. Okay, let's take these books into the other room, and then we'll go get that comic. Anything else I need here? Yes, indeed. got the little computer chipboard for the clothes dryer. So hopefully Gerald will get here tomorrow and install that so we can actually dry our clothes. Okay, so mission accomplished as far as getting these books moved into this room. So there's I did that. That's some of my artwork. I don't know if you can see that little cassette there with Wonder Woman saluting. This is patriotic songs. That was a car tape I used to have in my car. I painted this band and put it together about 10 years ago. So here's this is when you shake your martinis and whatever. It says it's 007, Tomorrow Never Dies. I think that was one of the Pierce Brosnan movies. But I saw this at an estate sale and I had to get it. It's not in great condition or anything. That's when James Bond was great. But I hear he's a woman now, and then they I don't want to, spoiler alert. Okay, pause. I hear that he gets blown up in the new to atoms, and then I guess that'll be a new James Bond, new actor. Anyway, let's go get that book. Find that book. It has to be upstairs. Let's check again, because that book has to be up here somewhere. It was not in that box downstairs. Again, let me know in the comments down below if you would ever come visit us. If you moved to Alabama, I would have square footage where I could spread out and I wouldn't have to move boxes. I could everything like spread out. Or I could just walk to the next box. I wouldn't have to take a box off of another box to see what's in the other box. That would be such a luxury. Bruce Lee sound effects. I'm a black belt in Kamala Khan. Let's see. Come on, you damn book. Where the fuck are you? Well. Gotta be in here somewhere. Yes, indeed. Lots of copies of Alf. This one has a parody of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in it. Yes, indeed. Aquaman, Archie, Batman. Thought I'd try this. It's a combination of Jonah Hex and the X-Men. Generation Hex. It's they were doing that for a while. They had like it was cross Marvel and DC. This is Captain America combined with Superman, and they've got Sergeant Rock and his Howling Commandos. There was another one was like I think Swamp Thing combined with Batman or some Bat Thing, something like that. People don't know that this kind of a sequel to All-Star Squadron has Todd McFarlane art. But don't tell anyone because then you won't be able to afford them anymore. But that's where he first started, I think. I don't think those Spawn people care though. You know, like she's saying, shh, don't tell anybody. This is Marvel 2-in-1. It's I don't know what they're. It's the Thing and like a whole bunch of other heroes. This might have been put together by Mort Todd. This collection of old 50s monster stories from Marvel. I got this for my wife. Muppet Babies. Yes, indeed. Here's the Punisher Summer Special. Rom Space Knight. Shogun Warriors. The Spectre. Well, the book is not in that box. What is going on? Where could it have been? It has to be in this box then. Good content today, huh? Isn't this a great episode? Oh boy. I love this era of Thor. Eric Brain was pointing out you'll never see women and a damsel in jeopardy in a comic book anymore. It's always going to be the girl saving the guy. Okay. Shogun Warriors, Jonah Hex, Amazing Spider-Man. Where would that book have gone? Maybe I pulled it and put it on top of the Kiss pinball machine to take upstairs, and then I forgot, and now I'm looking through all these boxes trying to find it. Bunch of Swamp Things, Teen Titans, Swamp Thing. Oh, a Christmas comic. A Marvel Holiday Special. I'm trying to pull all my Christmas comics and put them in a special box. Oh, here's the Captain America I was talking about earlier, where Ronald Reagan is like evil. Look at that. See the tongue coming out of him? They never would have done that with Obama, I bet. See, there's always a... Oh, no, there isn't. Well, yeah, there is. I'm saying there's always a girl cowering on the Conan covers. I was thinking, well, wait, that's Belay, the pirate queen. She's not going to be cowering, but I guess she is being grabbed by these green creatures back there. Oh, there it is. Damn, the last thing in the third box I look in. This is a comic produced by my friends here. It's called Channel Planet. Let's open it up. Formally, it will be coming out October 31st. This is a little card or sticker that comes with it. It says murder, violence, 10, I think murder, violence, 18. Maybe that means, well, she said the comic's okay for kids. I don't think that means that you have to be 18 to buy it. Anyway, now you can see that it's, see what they're doing is, this friend of mine is the cousin of my friend Tom that I talk about frequently that passed away a few years ago. Tom was a good friend of mine. I've known him since 1984. He was a movie fan and a movie poster collector. When we graduated college, I met him in college in 1984. And then right after that, while we were at the very tail end of last few months of college, he made student film. He was into film, studying filmmaking. He called up and interviewed Stuart Gordon and Brian Yuzna that had just made The Reanimator, which we loved, and wrote up the interview and got it published in the school newspaper at the college we were going to. And then, they liked it, and then they said, come out to Hollywood. So he went out to Hollywood and worked with them, I think, on a movie called Society, and then he worked on a lot of Hollywood movies. And he was a special effects coordinator. He worked with Greg Nicotero that later did The Walking Dead, and I think he's doing Creep Show now. Anyway, he spent a lot of years in Hollywood, like 20 years, then he came back. Then he passed away a few years ago. But anyway, he's the guy I always tell the story about how he saved Keanu Reeves' life because they were filming the movie Freaked at the very heart of the LA riots. But I've told that story before, so I won't do it again. But anyway, his cousin is the son of two clowns that used to have a television show back in the late 80s, early 90s on local Channel 27. And it was just like Howdy Doody. They had a kid audience, and they were really good clowns. And Channel 27 was run by a real film guy that loved film. And he got the best movies to show on that. It was an independent channel. It wasn't affiliated with a network. But during that show, they ran cartoons, but they weren't the typical cartoons. They were running the black and white Fleischer, Popeye, and Betty Boop cartoons. The stuff that had never been run on television. I grew up my whole life, never saw those black and white cartoons. I grew up from when I was a little baby watching Popeye and Friends on television in San Antonio. I moved to Virginia. They didn't play them when we lived in Germany. Virginia, everywhere I lived, they always had Popeye and Friends, like at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon after the kids had come home from school. But they were always the color Popeye cartoons, which weren't as good. When I saw these black and white Popeye and Betty Boop Fleischer cartoons, every day I would record this clown show on VHS back then, and then I would cut those cartoons. I would dub them over to another cassette because I'd record it because I wasn't always home, or I would record it direct. I'd wait for the cartoon to start and I'd record it. And I developed a collection of these cartoons because there's no other way to get them at the time, by watching this clown show. Little did I know that the main clown was the cousin of my friend Tom. I'm running low on power. I better plug you guys in. So anyway, anyway, his son was born to be a clown, and it was worked for Ringling Brothers, and his girlfriend, who I first met at the funeral for my friend Tom, is a clown too, and she is really funny, and I mean she's like you meet her, it's like you're meeting the real life Harley Quinn. I mean, she's just funny and always wearing crazy makeup. And anyway, they're this real interesting couple. They're clowns, but now what they're doing is they're making a puppet show, which is like a multimedia thing. I think they've got an album coming out with the puppet show, and then they got a comic book. And I think some of this art, I think it's based on the characters. They're puppet characters, and I set it down onto the damn sticky bag. So I'm having to be very careful here. Anyway, the point is, they created this comic. I'm fucking tearing it, I think. Where am I? Yeah, I am. Kind of. They're creating they've created this comic. I think they've gotten some artists from Europe to do some of the illustrations. Yeah, I'm fucking it up. That's okay. I'll get another copy of it. She gave me this as a preview so I can show it on the television on the show. And she left one with the store owner, and so they're going to put them there on consignment at the store, but they're trying to get these distributed. I think they printed like 1,000 copies of this, and this isn't supposed to be sold until the 31st of October because they've gone professional. It's got a UPC code on the back, and according to the UPC code, it's not supposed to be sold until a certain date. What happened is it's one of these self-sticking bags, and I set the book down onto the sticky part. Fucked it up as usual. Anyway, it's this slick. I'll show you. It's this inside. It's slick, and it's called Channel Planet. I had to turn the light off because of I had to plug the phone in. Yeah, shit. Yeah, so it's a lot more professional than most comics you see. Um, I would say it would fall in the kind of like, it smells really good. That's some creation they came up. It has this slick paper and has a really, yeah, there's some money was spent on this. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, she brought it by yesterday, and anyway, I could steer you towards them. It says preteen deformed samurai frogs. So they have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles parody in here. Alright, it's hard to do things with one hand. Anyway, I'll get another copy of this. I don't like that this one's damaged, but so it's something to seek out. I think if you want to research it, it's channelplanet.org is how you can but you know, I said you can come on the show and promote it either in person. You could come here, or you could you know, just come on through StreamYard, and she asked, well, is it a political show? And I said, well, I won't be political when you're on. I don't consider this show really that political. That's not all I talk about. That's not what the show's about. But I can't completely divorce myself from the world around me and what's going on, because this is I mean, this show's like a diary for me. It's just what's going on in my life, and I love the Submariner from this era. It has Bill Everett art, and he does the pencils and inks, and it's so beautiful. Just saw those. I thought I'd mention that. Oh, another Christmas issue. Okay, a recent or somewhat recent Disney comic. I'll put it over here with the Christmas stuff. All right, so let's head on to the other room. I'll do another episode probably tomorrow, maybe a live one. So I've got to finish work in this room because my friend is going to come over. Let me turn off this green light. Yeah, man, I can barely reach back there. I can't turn the rack because these damn people are down here. What is going on down here? Oh, I see. There. These Christmas animals. Down here.
I like catnip and I cannot meow. Other felines meow meow. But when they bring it in, I'm playing in the head with that big plant in my face. Meow meow meow. Want to hit that pig because it's hemming on the end of a spring. I want to get picture.
All this stuff I used to use as props on my show that I haven't used in a while. Captain Strangeliffe was pointing out last night that I don't use these hands anymore. It's like I used to, you know, I was kind of scratching myself with these fake hands, and everything's done here. All right, I got my ray gun. The sound of childhood, the sound of a spinner rack, squeaky sound. Oh, I'm about to knock over that flag behind it. Better be careful. All right. Let's ease on down the road. There's a President Nixon poster. Fix this. Sure do. Oh yeah, this thing's falling apart. Shit. I just realized something, guys. This might be a disaster in the making. These cheap ass frames, man, they have to be taped or they fall apart. Yeah, let's yeah, I gotta fix this, man. These cheap frames, this isn't a cheap frame. I bought it at an estate sale at an old friend's mom's estate sale. She hadn't passed away, but I guess she was moving into a rest home, so they had an estate sale. And I know they were not a conservative family, so the fact that they had this framed Nixon poster must have been an attempt to be ironic. But I thought it was really cool and funny. There's a heavy smell of cat piss here. That is not a good thing. The only thing worse than that is the smell of hippie patchouli oil, or let's see. I'll show you what I'm doing here in a moment. Sorry, I felt like this is something that needed to be addressed, because otherwise... Okay, I'll show you what I'm doing in a second. So, stay tuned. All right. Why I oughta. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? All right. It's a present. Probably needs to be framed better than this. For the first time in 20 years, we're spending more on human resources than on defense. President Nixon, now more than ever. What I need to do is put some tape on the back so the cheap frame does not fall apart, causing this thing to collapse. And that's something I will do very quickly. have some tape downstairs that I can use to fix this problem. All right. So let's see what's going on in this room. All right. Last night we were doing a ghost show on Graphic Man's channel. I was here and my Wi-Fi wasn't working too well, but I had pulled out some ghost comics from this box here. So you guys need to go and watch that show. It's on gotta look up Graphic Man. I type in Graphic Man and comic book and you'll run across him. But every Wednesday night he does a show at 7 p.m. Central where he has a theme. Next Wednesday it's going to be not just ghosts but just Halloween oriented stuff in general, you know, werewolves, Frankenstein, traditional things that people associate with Halloween, but I associate with everyday living. To me, Halloween is not the only time to have Frankenstein and things like that in my life. Okay, so I'm going to put all these ghost comics back into this Charlton box in between in the proper spot. Because if I don't do it now, things will get lost. This box is getting too tightly packed. Here's a copy of the Flintstones that I need to get in there. I don't know, this I'm starting to get to the point where I need to possibly stop to regenerate, to pause that refreshes. Yeah, I was predicting all these appearances of Peacemaker were going to be real valuable after Suicide Squad came out, but Suicide Squad unfortunately was not the hit that I was hoping it would be. It was a great movie, but because people could see it on television at home, very few people went to the theater, and that caused it to not be that giant hit they were hoping for. Plus the fact that it was R-rated. But they're making a Suicide Squad TV series, and the Vigilante is going to be a character in it, so who knows? Maybe that's when it'll take off in popularity. I don't mind John Cena necessarily, but he really was embarrassing when he apologized to the Chinese government because of something he said, I think, about Taiwan, and then you realize, oh, why does this guy speak perfect Mandarin? Does everyone in Hollywood speak perfect Mandarin because that's where all their money's coming from? And oh yeah, this is the box I'm putting the Warlord comics in. Yeah, I decided to start a special box for the Warlord. I might grow it. But anyway, yeah, so here's my Frankenstein display. And then I got Hulks down there, I got caveman stuff there. I always said that, see that Aurora Allosaurus model kit back there? That's what this Toy Story character was based on. I'm pretty sure. Because he has all the same swivel points and everything. But anyway, that's just my theory. Alright. Let's see here. I got some things to do. So go to channelplanet.org. Oh, I was showing these things on the... I won't show them now. Things are going to get better here. Let me see. Well. The Spectre. Yeah, let me fix that Nixon poster. That's kind of disturbing me. I think that's what I'm going to be up to, is fixing the Nixon poster here, and then finding a way to obtain food. Perhaps so we'll go hunting. Anyway, I will see you very soon, possibly tomorrow.